For many professional pilots, passing their Airline Transport Pilot Checkride was the moment they became qualified for the highest level of pilot certification in the United States. This is more commonly referred to as an ATP Checkride, which is the term we will use throughout the rest of this video. In this video, we are going over what an ATP Checkride is, what to expect during your testing, and how this will impact your career moving forward. Before we begin, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more aviation tips and insights from Epic Flight Academy. Let's get started.
My name is Ray Altmann, and I'm the Chief Flight Instructor at Epic Flight Academy. An Airline Transport Pilot, or known as ATP Certificate, is the certificate that the FAA requires for a pilot to operate in those transport environments such as 121 operations, the major airlines, commercial airlines. So what this allows you to do is operate as a pilot in command of an aircraft that is flying passengers for hire in a commercial environment.
An ATP Checkride is the final exam a pilot must complete to determine whether they possess the advanced knowledge, aeronautical decision-making skills, and flight proficiency needed to operate an aircraft at the highest level in professional aviation. Also called the Airline Transport Pilot Practical Test, it includes both an ATP Checkride oral exam and practical exam. Pilots pursuing the certification must meet strict FAA ATP requirements. These requirements include aeronautical experience, time as pilot in command, and specific logbook requirements.
A DPE, or Designated Pilot Examiner, is the person who evaluates you on a check ride and confirms that you meet the requirements of the Airman Certification Standards, or ACS. Before they start the check ride, they're going to confirm that you meet the appropriate age and experience requirements. This is all outlined in the regulation specific to ATP check rides. And then once you've met those requirements on the check ride themselves, they're looking for a very in-depth level of knowledge for systems and instrument flying and crew resource management.
Before the check ride itself, pilots must complete the ATP written exam and the ATP certification training program, which is typically done in a ground school setting. This is not offered through Epic, but we do have partnerships with Simulator Center LLC and Flight Training International. ATP-CTP is required before taking the ATP Multi-Engine Airplane Knowledge Test and is designed to prepare pilots for the type of high-altitude, crew-based, and transport category operations associated with ATP level flying. Here's what you can expect in these courses. For the ATP-CTP course, you can expect advanced systems training, high-altitude aerodynamics, simulator sessions, and loft scenarios, which stands for line-oriented flight training. Written exam considerations are as follows. Pass the ATP knowledge test before scheduling the practical test, because the examiner must verify that you have met the required testing and eligibility prerequisites before the check ride can be completed. Be aware of ATP written exam expiration timelines. Use structured study materials and a reliable study guide, such as the GLIME. Preparation is essential to set yourself up for success during your check ride. This means preparing both academically and in the aircraft or simulator. Review the FAA Airline Transport Pilot Airman Certification Standards, or ATP ACS, to understand the knowledge areas, risk management elements, flight tasks, procedures, and performance standards that may be evaluated during the check ride. Practice common check ride questions and follow a structured training checklist. Be sure to remind yourself of how far you've come as well. You didn't pass your other check rides for no reason. You've put in the work. Now show it. Another effective preparation method is flight preparation. Scenario-based training prepares you for real-world airline operations. This includes mastering flight planning, including weight and balance and weather requirements, flow patterns and SOP adherence, as well as crew resource management skills.
So the best way for a student to prepare for an ATP check ride is to understand all that knowledge that you've been learning for years building up to this moment will apply in that check ride. So maintaining that private pilot knowledge, that instrument knowledge, commercial knowledge that you've worked so hard to learn and bring it to that check ride is very important, because everything we do builds upon that foundation that we've created. It's also important that they understand systems much more in depth than what a commercial student might need to know. They also need to understand how to work in a crew environment known as crew resource management. Those are some heavy areas that are focused on the check ride that ensures that you will be able to handle an aircraft that is going to be flying with a multi-crew pilot environment, and that you will be able to successfully do the missions day to day.
The ATP Checkride includes two main parts: the oral exam and the practical test. The oral exam evaluates your systems knowledge, regulations, privileges and limitations, decision-making, and risk management. The examiner wants to ensure that you understand not just what to do, but why you are doing it. During this phase of examination, a pilot can expect detailed discussions of flight test standards, checkride guidance and decision-making, and risk management. The practical test evaluates your performance in the aircraft or simulator. This portion of the exam will cover a wide range of maneuvers such as instrument approach procedures, final approach ATP standards, step-down fixes and altitude management, stall recovery techniques, multi-engine operations during a multi-engine check ride, and select single-engine scenarios. Pilots must demonstrate strong aircraft control, proper use of automation, and consistent adherence to approved procedures.
The oral and the practical exam for the ATP Checkride are very similar to commercial level knowledge, but it extends past that. You need to have very intricate knowledge of the systems of many different aircrafts, including turbine or turboprop aircraft. The practical test is putting the instrument skills of a pilot to the test with more of a tighter tolerance than the instrument check ride would. And not only is it going to be assessing your ability to fly instrument procedures very accurately, but it's also going to be looking for you utilizing a crew in an environment like you might do in an airline or a larger transportation aspect.
It is common for pilots to confuse a commercial pilot check ride with the ATP check ride, although both have very distinct differences in what they are looking for. Both require the pilot's proficiency, but look at different aspects of pilotage and aeronautical decision-making. A commercial pilot check ride often focuses more heavily on individual pilot proficiency, aircraft control, maneuvers, and single pilot decision-making. The ATP check ride shifts the focus to more advanced systems knowledge, crew coordination, standard operating procedures, automation management, and command level judgment.
So in a commercial check ride, we're really demonstrating the abilities and performances of your aircraft to the highest level. The maneuvers are made to essentially prove that you as a pilot can operate this aircraft to its highest ability and understand the depth of knowledge needed to do so. An ATP check ride is focusing more on the precision of flying an instrument approach and focusing more on how to utilize a crew versus a single pilot operation.
Age does play a role in ATP certification. There are two types of certificates pilots can qualify under: restricted and unrestricted. Let's break them down further. For a restricted ATP license, you must be at least 21 years of age and meet these requirements: military pilot, 750 total time, 4-year aviation degree with 1,000 hours total time, 2-year aviation degree, 1,250 hours total time, cross country, only 200 hours needed, passed ATP knowledge test. For an unrestricted ATP certificate, you must be at least 23 years of age and meet these requirements: at least 1,500 hours of flight time, at least 500 hours of cross-country time, at least 100 hours of night flight time, at least 75 hours of instrument flight time, actual or simulated, at least 250 hours as pilot in command, a class rating with 50 hours in the class of airplane for the rating sought, all the appropriate medical certificates for the privileges being exercised, commonly a first-class medical for airline operations, completion of the ATP certification training program, and the ATP knowledge test passed. Because ATP candidates are usually highly experienced and often complete structured preparation before testing, many are well prepared by the time they reach the check ride. However, failures can still happen, especially when pilots struggle with systems knowledge, procedures, automation management, or decision making.
Some things that candidates can do to prepare themselves and avoid a failure on this check ride would be, of course, study, but make sure you're studying appropriately. There are plenty of study guides and written test programs out there for the ATP check ride that will outline all the things that you must know. Referencing the ATP Airman Certification Standards, the standards you will be held to on the test, will also allow a student to create their own kind of outline of how to create notes and study materials. And then while flying, precision's everything. So while you're practicing, you're looking to be as precise as possible based off of the ATP's certification standards. And while you're doing so, working with your flight instructor, though, you want to practice using appropriate crew resource management. So assigning them tasks to do as if you're the pilot in command and they are the first officer on a airline flight.
On the day of your actual check ride, it is normal to feel pressure. Knowing what to expect can help you stay organized and focused. Here's what you need to know on test day itself. On test day, you will meet with your examiner, complete the oral portion of the check ride, and then move into the practical test in the aircraft or the simulator. There are documents you need to bring with you on the day of your ATP check ride. The documents you need to make sure you have with you are the following: your pilot certificate, ID, medical, and logbook with tabs, IACRA with a completed 8710-1 IACRA application, aircraft documents, commonly remembered as AERO, airworthiness certificate, registration, operating limitations, and weight and balance information, maintenance records, aircraft logbooks tabbing current inspections and AD compliance, view limiting device, iPad charts, E6B, and a flashlight. After your flight, you will receive a debrief from your designated pilot examiner, where they provide you with feedback on your performance. Managing your anxiety beforehand is critical to ensure you have a good performance during flight. Ensuring you are prepared and have familiarity beforehand will reduce your stress ahead of the exam. Don't expect a maneuver-heavy flight like a commercial check ride. This flight will focus more on airline-style operations, decision-making, and systems management. You will still be given specific tasks to fly, but they are embedded in realistic scenarios. Some examples would be loft-style scenarios, pre-flight and setup, normal operations, abnormal and emergency procedures, maneuvers integrated into flight operations, multi-engine operations, and oral and in-flight integration.
So the whole idea behind an ATP is, generally speaking, most major airlines and larger aircraft require at least another pilot in the cockpit, so 2 or more, depending on the size of the aircraft. So there's going to be a time where you have to demonstrate working as a crew, and that's a requirement for most larger aircraft that we fly. So practicing using that crew resource management is going to be very, very important.
There's a lot to manage and think about during your ATP check ride. It is important to stay level-headed before and during your check ride. Having an idea of what the designated pilot examiner is looking for may help manage your own mindset going into this exam. Here are some examples of what a designated pilot examiner is looking for: judgment and risk management, crew resource management and communication, systems understanding, consistent SOP adherence, and overall professionalism. Going into the ATP check ride, here are some of the best tips you could follow for success. Follow a structured check ride preparation plan. Study using high-quality studying materials. Practice realistic scenario-based training. Focus on crew resource management and clear communication. Know your aircraft systems thoroughly. And stay calm and methodical under pressure.
So ATP check rides are kind of the highest level of check rides in the FAA. Obviously, as you get an ATP, you will then get a type rating, usually at an airline flying whatever aircraft they're looking for. So there is still more progression ahead of you, but you've ultimately reached the top of the FAA flight side of training.
Earning your Airline Transport Pilot Certificate is a major milestone in your aviation career. It represents the culmination of your training, experience, and skill in a single evaluation. The ATP check ride is demanding, but with proper preparation, strong proficiency, and a disciplined approach to training, you can put yourself in the best position for success.
You've worked very hard to get to this point, you've developed your skills, and you've passed all these other check rides that have led you here. All that knowledge that you've learned is going to help you best pass your ATP check ride. The ground school that you're required to go to and the written tests you must take are also going to help guide you to understand the level of knowledge that are required at the ATP level on your checkride.
Thanks for watching. If you've learned something new, leave a like on this video and make sure you subscribe to our channel for more aviation tips and insights from Epic Flight Academy.